I get asked all the time how we set up our seed starting area for our home garden. We feed a family of 5 with almost all our produce in just 1,000 square feet. And we do it with just the simple setup of 4 trays. Let's get into the ins and outs of my seed starting setup. So these are all the different components of our seed starting setup in our home backyard garden. So again, we're doing 1,000 square feet. We're aiming for 2,000 pounds of produce, or the vast majority of our family's needs. And this is basically it. This is the whole setup. So I've done more complicated setups, and this is what I found works really well. The soil blocks help us use the space more efficiently. So I just use a temporary card table as my base, get it up off the floor. That keeps mice from getting up there. Not that there's mice in here, but in the greenhouse setting, that can definitely be the case, or if it's in your garage. So that helps. It also is going to be cooler at the floor than it is up higher. So having a table as your base really helps. Next, we're going to put down a heat mat. This will help warm the whole setup and keep the seeds nice and warm so they get good germination. Then we're going to put down our base tray. This is a water tray. It's actually a dog kennel liner. And this dog kennel liner is going to hold the water for our seed starting trays. Seed starting trays are going to wick the water up through the wood and keep the blocks nice and perfectly moist. If you want to know more about the soil blocking method, we have a whole nother video about that, so be sure to follow our page and check out that other video if you want to know all the specifics about soil blocking. Once those plants are growing and germinate, they need light. And so I've used shop lights. Standard shop lights work great. This one just takes up less room. It's more powerful. It's a LED grow light. Hang it from a hook in the ceiling. And then because we're on a south-facing wall here, we also get lots of light from direct sun. So this just helps supplement and keep the day around 16 hours of light for our little seedlings. We also need a plan. So this is a blown up version of our seed starting chart, which you can find on our website. And it works for any zone because you're using weeks before your first frost. So if you're in zone 6, you can just do the math and figure out when you need to start your plants. And that's a free PDF download. But I know where I'm at right now and what I need to be starting. Of course, I'm using my own soil mix for our soil blocks. You can use any mix that you feel comfortable with and you've had good results with. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to keep my seed starting chart just over here so I know exactly when I need to be starting my seeds. And also I've got some field notes on here too, like get a soil test at the beginning of February. Start prepping beds for summer planting in mid-March. This is our heat mat. This is a 4-foot heat mat. So I'm going to put this underneath the whole setup. And then this will be plugged in. So now I got my heat mat down. This will keep the seeds nice and warm. I'm going to put my water tray down. And so I only need 4 trays to start all my plants. Hundreds of plants for our home garden. But if you need more space, this whole setup you could just do on a large rack as well. And then use like shop lights or LED lights in between. So this is the base that I'll fill with water. And then we'll have 4 of our wooden trays here. And this will wick the water up and water the blocks. But the first thing I'll need to do is actually make sure that this tray is sitting level. I don't want all my water to go to one side and not the other. And I'll just use washers to kind of shim the legs to make sure the whole thing is level and even. So I'm gonna make sure that it's level first because we don't want the water running all to one side and not the other. So front to back and side to side. And come up a little bit on that back corner, I bet. Yep. So I'm just gonna put a couple washers underneath that back foot and that should level us out. So this is a really high power LED light. There's lots of different manufacturers. This one is nice because it has some adjustable strings. And the reason why I want an adjustable light, whether you use shop lights or whether you use like an LED light like this, is that I want to start those lights really close to the plant. And as they grow, I want to be able to raise the lights up. So it's important to keep the lights close so you don't get these really leggy, stretchy plants. But with this much light just from the windows, we should be pretty good. All right, so hung this up from the ceiling. And like I said, if you got a rack, then you can just hang it from the shelf above it. But I like this one because it allows you to adjust the height of the lights. So as those plants grow, I can raise the light up. So I'm just gonna tie off this excess up here. So with the heat pad underneath it, it's gonna help warm the bottom of the trays. The light is gonna add a little bit of heat on top of it, but I do wanna make sure that this room doesn't have big temperature fluctuations. This is a sunroom adjacent to our house, and so I may either just leave the door open to the main part of the house, or I may put an additional heater in here. So got our lights set up, it's an appropriate height. I'm using my timer, give my plants at least 12 to 16 hours of light. Got that all plugged in here, and we're gonna make sure that the power is not sitting in water. So you can actually put that up on top of something to be extra safe. We'll make soil blocks next, and I'll go through that really quickly, but there's other videos that I have that expand on that. So if you're interested in soil blocks, but this would also work with like a standard tray. The only difference is you don't want your plants sitting in water. So when my blocks are on the trays, the water's coming up through the wood and watering the block. The blocks aren't themselves sitting with wet feet in the tray of water. So you can do this for standard trays, but I'd only add enough water until it all soaks up, and then I wouldn't leave water standing in it. Here. This one bag will actually produce most of my plants for the spring. Just gonna make sure it's nice and saturated. Again, there's a whole nother video about all this. So when I'm making my soil block mix, I want to make sure that I'm able to like form a ball, almost like a snowball, and then it holds its shape. It's not crumbling apart, but I can squeeze that extra water out of it, but that there's not a ton of excess water in the bottom of the tray. If you look down inside, I can push the soil up and it holds its shape like a wall, but it's not just like full of water. So it's got enough, but not too much. All right. The 35, this is actually my favorite size of soil blocker. This is a really good size for everything from cut flowers to greens to starting some of your peppers and tomatoes and stuff. And this one tray, again, free plans on our website on how to build these things, fits 105 plants. So that's, I only wind up starting 20 tomato plants at a time. I probably do that 3 times a year. So this is tons of room. Most people usually wind up starting way too many seeds, way more than they need. But I've got a plan that I put together earlier, and so I'm not going to overproduce. So I'm just going to put this whole setup right underneath the table and out of the way, but there whenever I need to make more blocks. Now I'll go ahead and I can fill this up. So I just want to make sure the water goes to all 4 corners without overflowing the lowest one. And I can get rid of that hose. And then I'm going to tie this up. There we go. You don't want your power cords in the water, obviously. So for germination, obviously keeping them nice and warm is really helpful. So you can even seed these inside the house, and if the blocks are already moist, let them germinate. And then as they're just starting to break the seed coat, you can bring them out here under the light in the water and they'll take off. With this sort of setup, I can easily go, like when I'm starting the seeds, almost a week between waterings, between filling this big tray. Whenever the plants are really growing and I've got big tomatoes in here, maybe it's every 2 days. So as I seed, I can label my plants. I use these little miniature popsicle sticks and be able to mark what my plants are. I have a little spatula where I can move these around. And the other cool thing about soil blocks is that as these plants grow, like I'll start my tomatoes, peppers, and all my brassicas at the same time. All my broccoli is going to go out, and now I've got more room to expand and spread my tomato plants apart. Putting a little more space between the plants and spreading them out with the soil blocks cuts down on disease, increases airflow, and it also keeps the plants from getting real leggy because now they can capture more light. They're not competing against each other like they would in a standard tray for light. So this is our setup. I'll do 4 trays that holds at least 400 plants. which is more than enough for our whole backyard garden, and should produce about 2,000 pounds of food from just these 4 trays on a card table in the corner of our house.